everyone, Armoured Pants here, and I have another video for you in the European line, a new tank in a new line, Tier 9 Standard B medium tank. As always, we'll have a look at the tech spec, and we will do that using blitzhanger.com, which is an excellent asset for all blitzers. Now, this is a great tank, I really like it. It's an excellent Tier 9 medium. I really enjoyed playing it, very happy with it. In terms of provisions, you might want to consider using a cinnamon because it gives you a slightly faster reload, and it also maxes out the view range. Gives you 293 meters of view range, which is pretty good and will help if you're planning on doing scouting or spotting, but obviously it depends on your game style and game play. There are two guns in this. There's a 90mm gun and a 105mm cannon, but this tank is really all about the top gun, because the top gun has significant burst damage. So really try to get the top gun as quickly as possible. You can see, looking at the different rounds here, that you have APC or as your standard round, not AP. Heat is your promo, and then of course you have HE, but it's not actually HE, it's actually HESH, and we'll talk about that in a second. Now there's 203 meters of pen on the APC or, giving you 1050 damage, burst damage. 295mm of pen on the heat and 105mm of pen on the HESH, which will give you 1200 plus burst damage. So those of you who've played the RU251 will note that it has really good HE pen, and so does this tank, so please take note of that. Now you also need to take note of the muzzle velocity, because each round type has different muzzle velocity. So on your APC it's 1050, on your heat it's 1203 if you use supercharge, but on HESH it's very low. Even if you use supercharge, it's only 952 meters per second with supercharge, so it's pretty low. If you use supercharge on your normal APC round, you get 1365 meters per second, so you can see it's 400 meters per second faster than the HESH rounds. Shell reload is 3 seconds, which means, and it auto reloads, which means if you just fire one, it comes back, same as the Pantera before it, which is really good. And the reload in order is 7.98 seconds for the first round, 709 for the second round, and 5.32 for the last round. And your burst damage therefore is available more often. If you fire off one round, automatically reloads, gives you full mag. Worst case scenario, if you get into a brawl, you're going to be 7.98 seconds per round after you fire off your first 3 rounds, which is not bad at all. So it's going to hold its own. You don't have to wait for the whole magazine to reload, so it gives you a lot of freedom and makes it a pretty strong brawler. It's pretty fast. It does 58 kilometers an hour, and it does 23 in reverse, so it's very mobile in reverse as well. Has good concealment numbers, and this helps with scouting and spotting. This tank is a variant of a Leopard. It was the Italian designers went to Germany in the 1950s and early 60s, and they created a tank based on the Leopard blueprints. It never went into production, but nonetheless we have it now in Blitz. So there are similarities to the Leopard. As you can see, looks kind of similar in terms of the chassis. It also has no armor, really. It has a little bit of armor at the front. You might get some bounces. It has that mantlet, which takes up a large part of the turret. But one of the things about the turret is it doesn't really have any armor. You can be penned in the turret quite easily, even by other mediums. So this is a problem, because even though you've 10 degrees of gun depression, we're looking at here, and 20 degrees of elevation, going hull down in this is not as effective as it is, let's say, in the Patton 46 or 48, because that has very strong turret armor. This doesn't. If you pop your turret over, you can be penned on the sides, either side of the mantlet, so just be aware of that. It has the technical ability to go hull down, but doesn't have the armor to support that tactic. So therefore, when you're talking about tactics, you really should play this as a cross between a light and a medium tank, using its agility to get around the map, using that burst damage to put in as much damage as you can to the enemy. Hit and run tactics. Long range sniping is great because the muzzle velocity is pretty good on this tank. It's not the best, but it's good enough to allow you to do long range sniping. Just be aware of the fact though with the HESH. The HESH is 400 meters per second slower. So if you've been firing the APCR rounds all game and then switch to HESH with that 105mm of pen, and you're firing over a long distance, you need to be aware of the fact that the shell is going to take almost 1.5 times longer to reach its destination. Therefore, there's a chance you're going to miss, so you need to allow for that. You need to allow more space in your deflection shooting or in your tracking shots. So please be aware that otherwise you're going to fluff shots and you're not going to realize why. It's because there's a significant difference in the muzzle velocity between the HESH and your standard APCR. The heat rounds are also slower than APCR, but not significantly so that you will notice huge differences. But on the HESH APCR you will, so just be aware of that when you're long range sniping or firing from distance. Now, let's have a look at some gameplay. This is Middleburg, and we're going to have a look at a Supremacy game. So I checked the setup, which I always do to start. Count the fast movers, count the heavies, count the TDs, and I decided I'm going to go to C. If we don't go to C, we're going to get flanked, so I'm going to push on to C, and it is going to be 3v3 meds, all things being equal if the others don't come along. So, moving towards C, I'm going to push up in support of the Indian Panzer. Going to break right here and see what we can see. So, first customer today, T54. T54 is a very tough competitor. There's another standard B as well, and they're going to be joined by a few other tanks as well, I think. But you can see here now, I'll just slow right down. I put one in, I'm pulling back, and there you go. When you're pulling back like that, you will get some bounces off that frontal armor. You can't really play for them, but if you move, you're going to make it much more difficult for them. And there is a little bit of armor in the front, and you saw there I got that bounce. That standard B is gone. Now we have the ISU. He's got low muzzle velocity. You saw it there, fired and missed. And I'm reloading here now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let my magazine reload a little bit, so I can put in some good burst damage here on these guys. Now I'm going to move forward now in a second, and you'll see here I'll put a round in, miss it, fluff that shot, but I still have one round, which I was going to load up now. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to push on after I get 2 rounds loaded up. I'm going to push on onto the T54. The Indian Panzer is pushing up, so I'm going to go and support him, as you should do as a good ally. Put 1 round in here, and then you're going to see the gun depression angles. I pop over, bam, clear him off. And just slow it down here in the replay so you can just see that gun depression in action. Nice killing shot there, and that is the gun depression and the speed of that tank in action. And that is good team play. When you're flanking in medium tanks, that's what you should be doing. You should be pushing on and supporting your teammates, not let them move on their own. Now I'm coming down here to help the VK, and I'm just going to slow it down here so you can see the maneuverability of the tank against this big heavy, the big duck. He has no chance of outmaneuvering me, and I'm just going to clear him off now. And again, this is the burst damage in action, right? The burst damage in this tank is really phenomenal. It can be 1050 damage points and up. You can get anything up to 1400 damage points sometimes if you get high rolls and set the enemy on fire. So really effective tank in inflicting a lot of damage on the enemy. You can see here I could have used HESH here, but I didn't want to risk any bounces. There's a lot of angles in the back of the object, and then I just kind of roll into them. I've conserved my hit points. I can afford to give away some to get the extra kill. 3 kills delivered. So you can see, pretty fast game. It was over very quickly, but a game that shows the strengths of this tank. Almost 4k damage, and by the way, you can do 3-4+ k of damage in this tank very often because of this gun system that it has, which is really very effective. And this is what makes it such fun to play. Like the Pantera before it brings a different aspect to Blitz that we haven't had before. It also gives you freedom in your magazine usage, because with AMX, for example, before, you know, if you fired off a round and you on spec, then you're down to just 2 rounds, or you have to go to a full magazine reload, which takes a long time. In this tank, you don't have to do that. You can fire off a round on spec, and if you don't fire another one, then it's going to reload. You get full mag. And that's what gives it this really powerful DPM. Now here I was going to go to A, but then I saw all the others moving, but then I see my ally is moving, so I decided to go and support him. So that's sort of the roundabout sort of way that I'm going to go to A here. I'm going to pop up here, and I'm going to try to use the soft cover behind this building at the top of the hill to see if I can spot up and do some scouting. Going to scout out A, and if I push forward I should be able to scout out B as well. And here's my first customer, Pantera. I get a bit lazy here, I should have pulled back, take one for my troubles. Pretty lazy play on my path. But I get another one into him now. See that nice muzzle velocity in play, and he's down to one shot now for me or for my teammates. I'm going to sit back and I'm going to let myself reload up. I'm going to try to get to full magazine. Now that I've got one round of chamber, I'm going to see if I can get a shot on him. It's probably not going to go through. And muzzle velocity, if I had if I was in a type 61 with almost 2000 meters per second muzzle velocity, I would have taken that shot. But with 1300 meters per second muzzle velocity, I'm probably not going to make that shot. Basic physics, can't argue with mathematics, although some people will. The internet and the world that we live in, people believe that their opinions are equal to your facts and mathematics and physics, which of course, as we all know, is not true, but I digress. So back to the game. So I've done what I should do in a supremacy game, right? So in a supremacy games are all about capping, they're all about getting bases, and all too often you see people, they've good start, they do some damage, they drive right by an open base, and then later on in the game they lose on points. You see here the muzzle velocity in action. This is on a short distance. You can see it's very effective, too cleared off, and again, this is the beauty of having this magazine. The burst damage you can do. If you're in a standard medium tank there with, let's say, 5 to 6 second reload between the shells, you wouldn't have taken out the ISU. Again, lovely shot there. Gonna put one in here on the ST1 as well, and now I'm on a reload. Now I don't know why I thought I wasn't spotted. I should have seen him. He obviously had spotted me up. I don't know why I thought I wasn't spotted. Stupid lazy play, happens from time to time, but nonetheless, back in the game now. Put another round into him. Gonna put another round into him here and leave him a nice easy kill for my allies. Some people might think that's kill stealing or whatever like that. My view on that. I don't believe in such a thing. The objective of the game is to clear off the enemy tanks as quickly as possible. It doesn't matter who does that, whether it's you or your allies, and it all evens out anyway, right? Some games somebody steals a kill that you're about to take, other games you do it, right? So you can see here, slow it right down. This is about the speed of this tank. I push right by the ST1. I take one from his ally, didn't know he was there, but you can see if it was just me and the ST1, he wouldn't have a chance. Push past the motion, has no chance of catching up with me in terms of my agility. Nice shot into him here, and there we go. A nice bounce as well. He rushed his shot. The aiming time in the ST1 and the gun handling is patchy. So if you rush your shots in that, that's what's going to happen, and that allows me to get another kill and 4.1k of damage. Bit of a carry from me as well, and 4 kills in that game, and that kind of shows how effective the game can be. Motion called me a lucky noob. Yes, of course, there's luck involved. There's luck involved in every game, really, isn't there? Just as there's bad luck involved in every game, but it all evens out in the end. You can see though, pretty good game from me, pretty good carry, over 4k damage. So there you go, so two games there with over 7k damage between them, and he can consistently do lots of damage in this tank because of this gun system which it has, which is really effective. But just note that with the gun system though, it does come with a few quirks, and one of those is the strange differences and discrepancies in the muzzle velocity, so please be aware of those when you're playing this tank. Otherwise it can catch you by surprise and you can miss some shots. Okay, so let's have a quick recap on this rather excellent medium tank, and one I've really enjoyed playing, as I have the whole European line, which gets better as it goes forward as well. It's a very good new tank in the new line, and the whole line has been well thought out by Wargaming, so hats off to them. I criticise them quite often, but here, credit where it's due. This is a really good medium tank, very strong, and its gun system is just amazing. It's really great, and I'm glad to see it in Blitz. And the top 105mm gun is really good, and the auto loader system is awesome, allowing you to do massive burst damage consistently. The gun is 240mm pen and APCR, 295 and heat, and 105 with the hesh rather, so don't remember that, because that's really cool. Part to weight ratio is very decent, traverses okay, and therefore it makes it an excellent brawler. It handles fairly well, and it gets around the map easily. As you saw there, I covered almost 360 degrees of that map. I would suggest using Cinnamon for view range to 308 meters, and it also helps with reload. So if scouting is something you want to do, then I would suggest use cinnamon. The gun handling is good, but the muzzle velocity is much better. Muzzle velocity it differs between the shells, so just be aware of that. Gun depression is 10 degrees, but the turret armor is not great. The mantle is good, but the turret armor is not great, so just be aware of that. This tank plays a medium tank role well. Arm, assess, reassess, move, speed the CPU of the team. But you can also play as a light tank because it's really fast. 58 kilometers per hour, 23 in reverse, so you can scout, spot, use cinnamon if you're going to do that. And there's no light tank on your team, then you can play as a light tank. You can adopt that role with the speed and agility and view range of this tank. Rate of fire and burst damage in this tank is just great. Worst case scenario, if you're in a brawl, you've got 7.98 seconds to wait for a round after firing off your 3 rounds and doing 1,000 damage. So overall, this is an excellent medium tank, something new, and it is great fun to play, and I've really enjoyed playing this, as I have all the tanks in this line from tier 6 up. The music is Vivaldi's Spring and Verdi's Triumphal March from the Egyptian opera Aida. So cheers Mush, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, I hope you found it useful, and I guess all that remains for me to say is pants off.